Do you think it's worth it in the long run? Gary mentioned the fact that they don't even have picks until 2024 now, I believe. So is it worth maybe postponing the building of a future team to just win next year?
Hell yes, but you better win next year. You don't know. You don't listen. That as we've seen with Brooklyn, as we've seen with team after team that had this window to win, that window can close on you when you least expect it. If you have a team that you know can get to the finals and you know what you need to add, damn it, you better go get it. You better not be messing around thinking about, well, if we just draft this guy with the 27th pick, maybe he'll develop into like a end of the rotation guy by year 3. Oh, hell no. Go and you use that pick and go win a chip now. Yeah. This is your window is today. That's your window of opportunity. You can't think about down the road. And besides, the way this league is grown and prospered, you're going to get opportunities to add good players. It then becomes on your scouting department to get you the right pieces. I look at Miami. They got Max Strus is a great example of a guy that, frankly, didn't really seem to register on anybody's radar of significance. And yet, lo and behold, he was a big factor in them getting as deep as they got into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I'm not worried about no damn 26 and 27 pick. If the Celtics were a bad team and they were doling out these picks, that would bother me because that means you're giving away lottery tickets. But when you're talking about picks that are going to be in the 20s, no, I'm good. I'm good.
I think the key is honestly, okay, the drafting of JD Davison. And I wrote this. It was really significant, not only because, they used the pick. They could have drafted and stashed a guy. They could have traded out of the pick. They could have taken some guy that we'll never see, who will never, ever arrive in Boston, who's playing in, CSK Moscow or playing in Lithuania.
Fenerbahce.
Or playing in
Turkish League. Shout out to the Turkish League.
Denmark right now. Instead, they took a guy who has upside and is going to make the roster. And they're going to, unless he playing some G League time, we'll see if he becomes a two-way player or he makes the team as a full-time player. But to me, that says something about Brad investing in the future. Take a 19-year-old. There's no pressure on him. Let him develop. And then in a couple of years, he might be your starting point guard if this dude develops into, as Colin Sexton did. Remember, Alabama players usually make good pros. We go all the way back from Latrice Freewell, Robert Ory, all the way to now. I mean, they're Alabama players are dogs. Herb Jones from the Pelicans, dog. Like, Alabama players make dogs. Okay, and that's what the young man said today. He's going to be a dog out there. And I think that was probably is different from, because Danny didn't take the one and done guy who slipped. Danny would take some dude overseas, and we'll see what happens in the Summer League with the kid from France. The kid from Israel is not going to play because he's playing for Team Israel, but the kid from France, we'll see how Summer League pans out. But I thought that was a critical move in the future for Brad looking forward, saying, you know what, let me take a kid who's slipping, who probably won't contribute, but he gets around all these young guys, veteran guys, he gets leadership, he gets to work, he plays, and all of a sudden, 2-3 years from now, hey, you got quite a player that you've cultivated that only cost you a second-round pick. So I think that's how you have to build the future. If you're not going through the draft, okay, you're not going to get any lottery picks. Then there's too much talent out here now. And too many, the draft is a crapshoot, right? The draft is such, you can get a player as good at 40 as you can at 20. It's just the way it is. These kids ain't ready. These kids is one and done. They coming out the G League Ignite, G League Unite, the G League Reunited.
Ignite.
Reunited, and it feels so good. They coming out of all these different elements, and some of them are ready. And we'll see with this draft how, whether, Keegan Murray is better than Jaden Ivey, whether Kyle Banchero, all these guys, not all of them is going to make it.
Yeah.
So I think Brad understands that. That's why he's okay to trade his first rounders and say, listen, we can get guys off the street. You can get guys overseas. You can get guys from the G League, and you can cultivate. Look at Sam Hauser. They signed him to an extension, undrafted. So you can find these gems. And there's a kid from Purdue, a big man from Purdue's on the Summer League team who was undrafted, who might make an impact and may make the team. So you just have to trust your scouting department and your talent assessment. But Sherrod's right. You go for it now if you got a chance to win it. Look at what Milwaukee going for it now. Golden State, like, look at the Clippers, right? They're going for it. Like, these teams ain't messing around. You can't waste Tatum and Brown's time, because eventually they're going to be 27, 28, and they're going to be other young guys coming up trying to win championships. So you got to take advantage of it now.
And the thing that they've done that I think is really impressive, and I think Gary kind of alluded to this, is that they don't need young guys to come in and help them win games. They can develop guys in a way that they couldn't before. Whereas when you draft in the first round, you're hoping that guy can at least be in your rotation year 1 or 2. When you're drafting a guy in the second round, he may play, he may not play. If you don't play him, is there a hole in your rotation? And the answer is no with JD Davison. And I think a lot of people, who maybe don't follow the high school scene that closely, he was like one of the top 3 point guards in the nation. 5-star recruit that you're able to get in the second round, that you don't have to play, that there's literally no pressure to put him out there and play. You telling me that kid can develop into a potential all-star one day? Would not be shocked if he did. Would not be shocked, because he was not great at Alabama, but he showed enough flashes to where you think, like, you know what? His game may be more suited for the next level. And I think that's Brad's mindset when he's looking at those second-round picks, because he's thinking that, you know what? It's not that this kid is imperfect. He's just young. And I think that's going to be the way that Brad is going to utilize second-round picks going forward. He's going to be looking for that highly regarded young kid who, for whatever reason, falls to the second round, that they can spend a year or 2 developing, who can potentially be better than half the guys that were taken in the first round that year. I think JD has that potential. You're not going to have to play him, and he's going to be in the midst of playing. Think about this. This is his education. Yeah. You get to get your lunch handed to you by Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White going to give you some of that. Tatum going to give you some of that. Jaylen Brown going to give you some of that. And all you got to do is just soak it all in, learn from it, and get better. You don't have to play. You don't have to put up numbers. He is in a perfect position to have a long-standing career, as opposed to have a good year or 2. Don't be like cats like Boobie Gibson and them cats from back in the day who had like 1 or 2 good years and then they were done, out of it. He has a chance to be a really good player for a really long time, because he's with an organization that can develop him with no pressure to play. But the pressure that you can tell, if you listen to him today, he wants to play. He's got that dog in him. You can kind of tell he's got that dog in him. And I'm mad at Gary Washburn for not mentioning Antonio McDyess and all them players you talked about from Alabama who got the dog in them. Don't forget about my old boy McDyess, the Olympian. I'm done. I just had to get that off my chest.
This week, we'll be headed to Las Vegas Gary might be there already, for Summer League, which is where we get to see the future of the league overall.
Are you coming?
I might be there. I might pull up.
Oh, snap. Oh, snap.
Maybe. I'll surprise you guys on next week's episode of the A-List podcast. Okay. But who are you looking forward to? If you want, I can list off some of the names on this roster. But honestly, the names that are standing out right now are Sam Hauser, Matt Ryan, just because there's a Falcon named after him, not necessarily because of his own credentials. Travion Williams, I think, Gary, is the kid that you mentioned a little bit earlier about potential wild dark horse. We look at what might happen
this
weekend. Yeah. So is there anyone that specifically stands out?
I want to see Sam. I want to see Sam Hauser, because Sam Hauser is the one guy that they have already invested a decent amount of time, energy, and resources in. And he's also the one guy that has a skill set that they could use. Even with all the changes and all the additions that they've made, Sam has the potential to help them from day one of start of the season. And I'm curious to see how he's going to operate when, if we're being honest and real, he's got to be their go-to guy, at least early on. And I'm curious to see how does he handle that. And obviously, as we learned from Peyton Pritchard, what you do in Summer League does not necessarily translate into the big leagues. But I will say this about Sam. I do believe he's one of those guys that he's a rhythm shooter. And if he gets into a nice flow, nice rhythm, hopefully he can bring that over into the regular season. And he's, again, a guy that was hurt in the playoffs last year, who I thought that there were some opportunities where if he were healthy, they would have seriously considered throwing him out there. And by the time he got healthy, they were already kind of in their routine of sorts as a rotation, and it just didn't make a ton of sense to bring him out there. But Sam's a guy that I'm looking really forward to checking out, seeing what he can do.
You even mentioned your guy, JD Davison. You wrote a whole piece on him for Full Court.
Listen, I just talked about JD. I just hyped him up last segment.
A little bit.
I want to.
You're not looking for it.
I want to keep I know what he's going to do.
Hey,
he's going to show out.
I'm going to make you feel old here. JD Davidson's birthday, October 3, 2002.
Ew, that's so disgusting.
That's my mama's birthday.
Oh.
Me and JD like this now. That's my mama's birthday, October 3rd.
He legit 19. I'm looking forward to.
You all right, Kwani?
No, that's my youngest brother's age. That's weird.
I'm looking forward to a kid who was a former Clippers draft pick, Mfiondu Kabengele, former Florida State kid. Just kind of fizzled. Was taking the same draft as was Terrence. God. Terrence Mann, exactly. Sorry. He played on the same team as Terrence Mann. It's kind of bounced around. He went to Cleveland for a minute, but let's see what he can do. I mean, the spot for the third big is open. You know, he's 25 now. You hope that it might kick in and he might be able to give them something and show. I mean, when you're 25 and you're playing in Summer League, you're at the point where you should be better than most of the dudes out there. Like, you should dominate Summer League. Like, you know, Summer League is for the youngsters. So when you're playing Summer League, you know, like I'm looking at Broderick Thomas. He's another kid who's 25. Like, these kids should be dominating Summer League. Like, we can see, and we've all seen Summer League where you could just see a dude step on the floor, like Keegan Murray just did this past weekend at the California Classic, where he's like, okay, he's like the best player on the floor, right? Like, he's too good for Summer League. Like, I don't know, you know, I want to see some play from him. And also the French kid, who I thought played pretty well last year, Begarin. You know, he's a big kid, 6'5", 210. Let's see what he's learned over the year, whether he can stick to the roster. You know, there's some opportunities, some open roster spots. So does Brad bring in some veteran minimums? Does he bring in some of these guys? You know, does he look at Travion Williams? You know, there's a lot of guys. And then Jordan Bone, former college teammate of Grant Williams at Tennessee, and, you know, kind of bounced around, was with the Pistons for a minute. You know, we'll see what he'll do. I don't think he'll have a big chance, but there's some intriguing guys on this roster, and I'm sure they might add a couple of others because I mean, you know, I think they got like 10, 11 guys. They might add 2 or 3 just to fill it over the next couple of days before their first game on Saturday. But I think the kid from Florida State, the third biggest open. He's athletic. Can the Celtics work with him and get him a chance? And also, for you Taco Fall fans, Taco's playing for Utah Jazz. So if you want to watch some Utah Jazz Summer League, I mean, he might start with Gobert gone. Taco might have a real shot at Utah, and obviously his relationship with Manny. Mm-hmm. But Taco Fall is playing for the Utah Jazz, and there's a couple local kids. Noah Kirkwood from Harvard is in Summer League, and another kid from BU. So there's all types of reasons. Basketball never stops, and this will be fun to watch. You know, the Summer Celtics and see who develops.
Sure, we have some breaking news during our podcast. Your guy Isaiah Roby just got picked up by the Spurs. So
damn it!
Sorry about that. Just felt like our listeners should know. Shout out to our producer Ahmed for putting that out.
Damn it! I told Ahmed in our chat. Damn it!
Right.
I'm just relaying to y'all what I told him. Damn it!
The Summer League team for the Celtics, Sherrod mentioned he's thinking that this will be the Sam Hauser show, but Ben Sullivan, he's going to be the head coach for this team during Summer League. What are you expecting from him?
Ben Sullivan is low-key really, really, really good. He won a championship with Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
He's part of that Spurs coaching tree. And the way he got involved in the NBA was basically Ime Udoka recommended him for a video job with the Spurs that he wound up getting. And that kind of set his whole NBA odyssey into motion. The one thing about Ben Sullivan that when you look at his background, he is someone who specializes in shooting. He's a shooting coach. And he worked under the guise of a guy named Chip England, who's one of the all-time great shooting coaches in the NBA. So that's part of why I'm really looking forward to seeing what can he do when you get Sam Hauser unleashed. What can he do when so much of the attention is going to be on the shooter? And that's something that Ben, again, that's one of his strengths. When he was in Milwaukee, the guy that he spent a lot of time working with trying to get his shot right was Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, by no means did he become Ray Allen, but he was not Allen Ray. Giannis was a much better shooter as things went on, and certainly when they made big shots when they won the title a couple years ago. What y'all laughing about?
Just Allen Ray. It was so corny.
That ain't cool. That ain't cool, Sherrod.
I'm just saying. He's not Allen. He's better than that. Allen was a good. He did his thing.
Allen Ray was a nice player at Villanova.
He was.
Don't knock.
They had like 3 nice players.
Don't do that, Sherrod.
On a random week in July.
Allen's sitting by himself right now, chilling. Got thrown into a podcast he
spit up his Corona as soon as he heard his name.
He didn't do nothing.
His ears was itching.
I don't know. Maybe for Villanova, he might have scored 30 on Syracuse, and you still upset about that or whatever. So
no, he didn't. Trust me on that one. He didn't.
No, let that go.
He definitely didn't.
I don't really know a lot about Ben Sullivan, except he's a pretty intimidating looking cat, bald.
I like Ben.
Bald with the beard and 6'6". So we'll see. Well, I think we'll learn a lot more about him over the next couple of weeks, what kind of coach he is. And I think it's a good opportunity. The Celtics are also adding a Black woman to the Summer League coaching staff. So look out for her. I have to research her name, but
okay. Is this breaking news as well?
Yeah, not breaking news. She announced a couple months ago. A couple of days ago that she was she got an opportunity to coach for the Celtics Summer League team, and I'll give you
Tamara Moore, Trailblazer, formerly of the
Tamara Moore.
Yeah. So
there we go.
Tamara Moore. So that's good for her, and we'll see. We'll get a good look at her, and we'll see. We'll see what some of the other guys can do on the staff. And they have a spot open, so maybe Tamara Moore fills that spot for the regular season. Yeah. We'll see what Ime does with that open position. But I'm looking forward to seeing Ben Sullivan and what he can do with his impact or whatever on this team. And I said, Summer League's always a fun time, but I think the Celtics have some work to do.
Yeah.
With the Summer League team, cultivate some guys, build their team in Maine. If you're not, because especially if you're not going to rely on the draft anymore, which they're not, it's time. You got to cultivate somebody. You got to find some of these kids. And I know, and remember, Brad Stevens is very close to Matt Painter, the coach at Purdue. I think that's one of the reasons why they took Carson Edwards. And I'm sure that's why they invested so much in Travion Williams. I think Matt Painter was like, hey, man, this guy's going to be good or whatever. So I think that's why that connection. And obviously, Micah Shrewsbury, now the coach at Penn State, was a former assistant at Purdue a couple of years ago. I'm sure they both said, hey, you need to bring this kid on your team and see what he can do. So they got some work to do. And it's fun to see these kids develop, play hard against all the other teams in the league. This is the chance. Everybody thinks they got a chance. Orlando's happy, excited now. Charlotte, all the stuff. Mm-hmm. All these teams are excited about the new season. So it's time for the Celtics to get that work done this summer.
Orlando being excited does nothing, Gary. That is nothing. There's nothing for
them. Best they got going on is Disney World or Disneyland. I don't even know which one it is.
And that ain't even got it going on like it used to. Last point I want to make about Ben Sullivan is that remember how not a whole lot of people knew about Joe Mazzulla before last Summer League? And then afterward, all of a sudden you start seeing his name pop up with interviews here, interviews there. Ben Sullivan has that potential. When you look at his coaching tree, when you look at the fact that, again, what he does well developing, at least coaching guys to become better shooters, that's a skill that every team would love to have in a head coach without question. So I think that this is a great opportunity for him to really put himself in the conversation as being, one of the next members of the Ime Udoka tree to get a head coaching job. Will Hardy, my goodness, 34 years old. I ain't mad at you, Will. I am not mad at you.